What's going on there, gang? And welcome to the third video in our anatomical series where we're going to be breaking down the shoulder. Now, I'm not even going to mess around with this one. The shoulder's way too complex for me to be able to make as experts in one video. So what I'm going to try and do is just educate you about all the other things that influence the movement of the shoulder as well. So you can kind of get an idea of the gravity of how important it is that we look after our shoulders, because my God, man, there's just so many things that move that thing around. So when we look at your shoulder itself, this little muscly thing at the top of your arm, there's only three muscles: front deltoid, side deltoid, rear deltoid. But there's about 10 other muscles that help to influence the movement of the shoulder as well. We're going to be getting into them. For example, the rotator cuff. You've probably all heard the rotator cuff before, but you probably don't know that the rotator cuff is a group of 4 different muscles. 3 of them help to control this thing that we call external rotation, just rotating the arm towards the outside. And 1 of them helps to control internal rotation. The 3 that control external rotation, 1 of them is on the back of the shoulder blade, 1 of them is just next to that one of them runs pretty much across the top of the collarbone, and the one that does internal rotation sits underneath the shoulder blade itself. Now, the rotator cuff muscles don't just influence rotation of the arm itself, they're also like the missing link piece that allows bigger muscles to be able to move the shoulder too. If we try and pull our shoulder back, right? The deltoids are going to help to move it back a little bit, but the rotator cuff muscles are going to link the deltoids up with the lats, the biggest muscle across the back there, to allow the lats to influence pulling the shoulder blade back. So if the rotator cuff muscles themselves get weak, if someone's doing bench press, they can get rotator cuff tears. If someone's throwing a ball, if someone's doing rock climbing or something like that, it'll usually be these little guys that get injured instead. Of course, if they get super weak, they can just immediately carry all that stress over to the bigger muscles, and that's how you end up with people getting things like pec tears when they're doing bench pressing. A quick example of a postural problem that you can get, because the rotator cuff is this like link between the shoulder and the bigger muscles across the body there. If you are sitting in this kind of position all day, for like you guys driving, or if you do like a lot of heavy bench pressing, eventually what's going to happen is the pecs there will shorten and they'll pull the arm towards the front there. The pecs are trying to create more stability for the shoulder. But now the bone of your humerus, the upper arm, is sitting further forward in its capsule, and it'll start grinding against other structures. Your arm sounding like a pack of Rice Krispies getting stepped all over. The humerus is now sitting too far forward inside the socket there. And another kind of problem that can lead on to is getting things like a trapped brachioradial nerve. The brachioradial nerve runs from the upper back there, through the shoulder blade, down the front of the arm, towards the fingertips. And if that thing gets trapped, you can start getting a chronic elbow pain that just happens all the time for no reason. And you can also wake up in the middle of the night with things like numb fingertips, and it'll feel a bit like you're having a stroke. You're not having one, but we still don't want people to just suddenly lose loss of feelings in the hand, when we could just fix that by having a shoulder that sits back where it should be. Okay, so if we move on from the rotator cuff muscles and outside of rotation, we look at different movements that the shoulder can do. Well, we can lift the shoulder up, we can push it forward, we can pull it down, and we can pull it back. If we push our arms forward, deltoids are helping to lift the arm up. The pecs are helping to shorten, to push that arm forward. But then we have this huge muscle that goes across the side of the rib cage there, called the serratus anterior. It goes all across the side of your rib cage, and it feeds underneath your shoulder blade at the back, and it helps to glide your shoulder blade around your body. And because the serratus covers so much of the rib cage as well, if a muscle like that starts getting tight and not functioning properly, it's going to influence things like your breathing mechanics as well. So yeah, we want to look after that guy. If we lift our arms up towards the air, what first happens is the front deltoid is going to help with elevating the arm. The upper trapezius there is going to lift that shoulder close towards where your ears are. The serratus is going to slide your shoulder blade forward against the back. And as that arm gets higher and higher, the lower trapezius is going to be trying to anchor the shoulder blade down from the back. If we look at pulling the shoulder blade back there, that's going to be the mid trapezius, the lower trapezius, and something underneath those muscles called the rhomboids, pulling those shoulder blades back together. And then if we're trying to pull the shoulder down, it's going to be a muscle called the teres major that is just at the very top of the lats, just next to the shoulder blade there. And it's going to be working in conjunction with the lats to try and pull that shoulder down closer towards the body. There's quite a lot of things that influence what your shoulder health is like. And this is the reason why we train our shoulders in a variety of different ways. It's the reason why we do external rotations to strengthen those external rotators. It's the reason why we do all different pull apart variations to be able to work on that retraction strength. If you're in our most recent class doing the push-up plus, we were doing that one there to be able to work on the serratus anterior and the pec minor as well. The shoulder has to be trained in loads of different ways. There's actually an old strength phrase that goes, the hips crave intensity and the shoulders crave complexity. They need a lot of varied movement, and ideally training the shoulder with resistance bands is actually the best way as well, because the resistance bands are constantly trying to shorten as we're working against them. They're not just staying in one fixed place. They challenge the shoulder stability and help to improve shoulder health like nothing else. So there you go. I hope that you've learned a thing or two there. Until the next video, where we're going to be getting into nutrition. Peace out.